5 members have joined. Now we are not going to wait for further people, and we are going to start our session. So let me allow to share my screen, and here is my screen. I'm going to share. Okay, can you see my screen? Are you able to see my screen or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in past lecture we guys have talked about environment concepts, ecosystem also we have seen in a thorough manner, and wherever we guys have stopped yesterday, from that particular point onwards I'm going to start my session. So I welcome you all for the 5th lecture of EBS. Already four lectures we have taken. Right? Those lectures were there on Tuesday and Wednesday. Today is Thursday, and I'm here to take your lecture number 5. So the concept of environmental science we have seen, and this environmental science includes living and non-living things. Those can be also called as biotic and non-biotic components. So we guys have seen what are the biotic components, and so we guys have seen what are the abiotic components. So even we guys have seen the types of environment also. There are two types of environments that we can see. One is natural environment and another is man-made environment. As far as natural environment is concerned, we can see soil, water, air, trees, noise, etc. Those can be called as natural environment. When it comes to man-made environment, it can be, the part of houses, roads, parks, etc. Those can be called as man-made environment. Am I audible clearly or not? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Am I clearly audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so environmental sciences we guys have seen, and there we guys have talked about biotic and abiotic. Even we guys have talked about types of environment in a detailed manner. After that, we guys have talked about components of environment, and there are 3 types of components of environment, and those are biotic, abiotic, and energy components also. So all these things we guys have seen yesterday in a thorough manner, and even we guys have seen the structure of atmosphere in a clear manner. And I told you to remember this because this may be asked for the MCQ questions at the final examination. Energy components also we guys have seen. There are different types of energy that we can consume, we can have, and those energies are solar energy, nuclear energy, geochemical energy, thermo electrical energy, etc. So all these are the types of energies, and these kind of energies can be called as energy components. Moving on to the next one. Here, I think we guys have seen the scope of environment studies. I think in the past 3 lectures also, we guys have focused on this. Then need of public awareness that we guys have seen. And I was about to start this ecosystem, and I think I have started this one. I told you the meaning of ecosystem. Even I told you the concept of biome, and biome is nothing but what? So small ecosystem that we have around us. That also we guys have seen. I think biotic components also we guys have seen, if I'm not wrong. Am I right or wrong? Then biotic components also we have seen autotropous and heterotropous also we guys have seen. Then I think this one is not seen. I think so. I think this one also we have seen. Members of biotic components. There are 3 members as such. One is producer, second one is consumer. Under the category of consumer, there are 3 types of consumers: primary, secondary, and tertiary. And the last one is consumer decomposers. That also we guys have seen. Even this chart also I have told you in last lecture. Even this one is also we guys have seen. After that, we guys have seen water cycle also, carbon cycle also, N cycle over land, nitrogen cycle, the P cycle, the phosphorus cycle, tropic levels also we guys have seen, and we guys have stopped here. Do you remember? इथं थांबलो होतो आपण, आठवतंय का? आठवतंय का नाही? हॅलो 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 हॅलो, आवाज येतो का माझा? नाही. हॅलो हॅलो, मोठ्याने बोला. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Speak loudly. Here I'm asking you to speak, no? And you guys are not speaking. Am I audible or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Oh, so in between, you guys have to answer whether it is yes or no, so that I'll get sort of energy from you guys. I mean, नाहीच बोलले तर मला काहीच करणार नाही. Once again, I'm going to share my screen, and wherever we guys have stopped yesterday, from that particular point onwards, we are going to start your session. So here we stopped. Do you remember? इथं आपण थांबलो होतो. आठवतंय का?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so here we are going to talk about ecological succession. So first of all, I'm going to tell you the concept of ecological succession. What do you mean by ecological succession? That also I'm going to discuss with you all. So as far as this ecological succession is concerned, in a particular area, one community of species and may be replaced by another community. The progressive replacement of one community by another till the development of stable community in a particular area is called as ecological succession. Look at this. In this one, they have given one concept of ecological succession. Ecological means what? Which is related to environment, which is related to ecosystem. And succession means what? Succession means what? One from one generation to other generation, or from one community to another community. So here they have given the concept of ecological succession. I'm going to read this in some parts, and so that you can understand it in a very good manner. So I'm going to make some parts of this definition or this meaning or this particular paragraph, and after that you will be able to understand what I'm going to say. Look at this. In a particular area means in a particular area or in a particular ecological system, one community of species may be replaced by another community. So there is one community of species. Species you know very well. Species म्हणतो. So may be replaced by another community. So one community has replaced the another community, or one species of community has replaced another community, and the progressive replacement of one community by another till the development of stable community. And this kind of replacement is there, that is called as progressive. It shows the progress, and it is called about progressive replacement, and it will be a stable development also. And when it is taken place, it means what? One community is going to replace another community for the purpose of progressive replacement, and when it is taken place and when it will be called a stable community, it becomes ecological succession. There are different types of ecological successions, and out of those we are going to see one by one. The first one is primary succession. What do you mean by primary succession? That also I'm going to tell you. Look at the paragraph which is given here. If an area in any of the basic environment, such as terrestrial, freshwater, or marine means water that we can see in the ocean or sea, is colonized by organism for the first time, the succession is called primary succession. So here, what they have given, primary succession means what? The succession which is taken place in such kind of things, which is there in fresh water, which is there in marine water, which is there in terrestrial water. So those can be called as, means the organism that we can find out, the organism that we can find in fresh water, terrestrial water, and marine water. That kind of succession is called as primary succession. So this is for primary succession, if I'm not wrong. Moving on to the next one, and that is another one, that is secondary succession. So what do you mean by secondary succession also? That I'm going to tell you. Here I have taken something for secondary succession. If the area under colonization has been cleared by whatsoever agency, such as burning, grazing, clearing, filling of trees, sudden change in climate factors, etc., of the previous plants, it is called secondary succession. So secondary is totally depend upon the first or primary one. So what do you mean by secondary succession? That I will tell you here. Secondary succession is the second part of primary or second generation of primary succession. So what happened here? Because of so many reasons, it is taken place. What can be taken place? Suppose you have some plants, you have some grass. So if it is burnt, if it is grazed, if it is cleared, if it is filled by the trees, or sudden change in the climate or climatic factors, and because of that, next generation will come out of from first primary succession or primary generation. It is called as what? Secondary succession. In Marathi, if I want to tell you, if you want to get it done. If you want to understand it, I will tell you in Marathi also. For example, we have some trees. Okay, we have some trees, and we have planted them at first, or first time we have planted them. After a few years, if we cut the branches of those trees, and new branches come out from those cutting branches, it can be called what? Secondary succession. Then the next one is, third one is here, Atogenic succession. The word is a little bit different for you, but we are going to understand the word atogenic, and we are going to understand the concept of Atogenic succession also. So what does it mean? After the succession has begun, in most of the cases, it is community. So it is the community itself, into bracket, as a result of its reactions with the environment, bracket close, modifies its own environment and thus causing its own replacement by new communities. This course of succession is known as Atogenic succession. What happens here? See, atogenic means what? In case of atogenic, some reactions of environments are considered. Remember, while considering this particular succession, we consider some results of reactions with the environment. Whatever results of the reactions of environments are there, that modifies the entire environment, and the entire replacement is taken place. So what they have said after the bracket, whatever sentence they have given, that is very much important. If you look at this, modifies its own environment and thus causing own replacement by new communities. So replaced communities are replaced by new communities, but the same thing, why it is happened? It is happened because of certain results of reactions with the environment. Certain reactions are taken place in the environment, and because of those reactions, some replacements are taken place and new communities are emerged. And when those kind of new communities are emerged, those can be called what? Atogenic succession. So you guys have to remember like this. Then ecological succession that you can see here. Here you can see primary succession. Here you can see secondary succession, and this one is a sort of diagram which is a little bit blur. Actually, I didn't get a proper picture of this, but from looking at this picture also, or by looking at this picture also, you can understand the concept of ecological succession. See, look at this, how the changes are taking place, how the things are replaced one by one. So this can be called as ecological succession. Then food chain in ecosystem. Now we are going to understand the food chain, which is the most interesting aspect of ecosystem. And if we want to understand this food chain, we need to go for certain certain what we call it, certain examples. So we are going to understand the concept of food chain first. Food chain means what? Do you know the concept of food chain? Can anyone tell me the concept of food chain? What do you mean by food chain? Now it's your turn to answer my questions. What do you mean by food chain? Is there anyone else in the lecture or not? Students are there in the lecture or not? May I know this? मुलं आहेत का वर्गात? नाही. Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me or not?
Yes, sir.
So what do you mean by food chain? Answer the question. You can answer my question in Marathi, Hindi or English. No issue at all. What do you mean by food chain? Food chain. There is one particular chain of food, and that is called as food chain, if I'm not wrong. Am I right or wrong? Am I right or wrong is my question. Purnima raised her hand, and what she wants to say, Purnima?
Sir, food chain is the one which starts with producer, that is
Okay.
plants, and ends with the decomposers.
Decomposers, correct. Very good. So it starts with primary, producer or producers, correct, and ends with the decomposer. So whatever process elements we have seen, factors we have seen, as far as energy is concerned, there we have seen it starts with producer, correct. Producer, they produces. Then consumers are there, and they consumes, and finally ends with decomposes. Fine answers he has given. People are brilliant, but they don't answer. That is the only thing. Otherwise, I will be the most happiest person on this planet if you answer my questions. Okay. So whatever answer is given by Purnima, fine answers he has given. I request you all to answer like this, and if it is not correct, do not bother about it. Try to say something so that I'll also get something from you guys. If I get sort of input from you guys, definitely I'll be the fortunate one on this planet Earth. So without wasting your time, I'm going to tell you the concept of food chain in ecosystem. So what do you mean by food chain that we just now understood from Purnima? But I'm going to tell you one more time. Food chain is a chain which is created for the human beings, even for the, what do we call it? Living organisms on the ecosystem or on the planet. So food chain is a chain of food which is created systematically. So what sort of things are there? That also we are going to understand in food chain. So one by one, I'm going to explain you about the food chain in ecosystem. We are going to talk about the food chain which is there in ecosystem. So remember, don't forget this. In an ecosystem, one can observe the transfer of or flow of energy from one trophic level to another trophic level in succession. Just wait, I'm going to attend this form. Hello. Hello. Okay, so here we are going to understand this, what is food chain in ecosystem. So as far as ecosystem or food chain in ecosystem is concerned, it is in an ecosystem. So whenever we think about an ecosystem, one can observe the transfer or flow of energy from one trophic level to other in succession. See, as we guys have seen different types of trophic levels. There are 4 trophic levels. So the flow of energy, when we want to understand this food chain in ecosystem, we want to understand the flow of energy also. So the flow of energy is transferred or flow from one trophic level to another trophic level of succession. Remember. So what you guys have to remember as far as first statement is concerned, you guys have to remember the flow of energy is from one trophic level to another trophic level. So this is what you guys have to remember. Now the second one, a trophic level can be defined as the number of links by which it is separated from the producer. Trophic level is nothing but what we guys have to understood as far as trophic level is concerned. It is a link by which it is separated from the producer. So this one is a link from the consumer and the producer, remember, or as the which position of the organism in the food chain. It also shows the position of organism in the food chain. If we want to understand the trophic level, you need to remember 2-3 aspects. The number of links by which it is separated from the producer, and it also shows the position of the organism in the food chain. It also talks about what? Position of the organism in the food chain. Third one, the primary producers trap radiant energy from off sun and transfer that to chemical or potential energy of organic compounds such as carbohydrates, proteins and fats. See what happens. There is a role of primary producers, how the food chain is created and what sort of factors or elements or trophic levels are there and what they do. As far as the primary trophic level is concerned, or the first trophic level is concerned, that is called as primary producers. What they do, what is the role of primary producers, that we are going to understand. As far as the role of primary producers in the energy creation is concerned or the food chain is concerned, they just trap the radiant energy. Radiance means what? Rays from the suns that we get. Radiant energy of the sun. When they trap the energy of sun, that will be transferred to a chemical or a potential energy in organic compound. So what they do, first of all, they trap the energy from the sun, then they transfer that to a chemical or potential energy of organic compound. What are the organic compounds? In the form of what? In the form of carbohydrates, in the form of proteins, in the form of fats. So this way they transfer from one format to another format. Basically, they trap the radiant energy from the sun then they transfer into a chemical or potential energy of organic compounds in the form of what? Carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. So this way they try to create the food, and this way food is created. And when it is there, it is called what? Chain of food or food chain. Last, when a very herbivore animal eats a plant, or when bacteria decompose it, and these organic compounds are oxidized, the energy liberated is just equal to the amount of energy used in synthesizing the substances. First law of thermodynamics, but some of the energy is heat and not useful energy. Second law of thermodynamics. So there are laws of thermodynamics, there are laws of energy. I will tell you one law of energy that I remember. Energy neither be created nor be destroyed. It can be transferred from one form to another form. This one is a law of our thermodynamics. And according to this law, we cannot create the energy. We just transfer the energy from, or we cannot create the energy. We cannot destroy the energy. We just transfer from one form to another form. And this is the law of energy. So here also same thing has happened. And according to this way food chain is created, or this one is the food chain in ecosystem. So this is a sort of basic information which is there for food chain. Moving on to the next one, here we can see something about food chain in a more detailed manner. If the animal is eaten by another one, if you look at this, what happens? What sort of food chain is there? That we know. Plants are eaten by the animals, then animals are eaten by animals, even human beings also we go for eating the animals. So this one is the food chain. Each one is depend upon each others. So if the animal is eaten by another one, along with transfer of energy from a herbivore to carnivore, a further decreases in useful energy occurs as the second animal, carnivore, oxidizes the organic substances of the first herbivore or omnivore to liberate energy to synthesize its own cellular constituents. So here what they have said, one animal eat another animal, like that formula they have given here, and from that we can understand how they are dependent on each other and how the food chain is there. Last one, such transfer of energy from organism to organism sustains the ecosystem, and when energy is transferred from individual to individual in a particular community, as in a pond or a lake or a river, we come across food chain. So this way the food chain is created. The last one is talking about what? The energy which is transferred from organism to organism in the ecosystem, and this way or from one individual to another individual or in a particular community, and this way the food chain is created. As we know that there is one subhashit in Hindi, proverb in Sanskrit, subhashit in Sanskrit, jivo jivasya jivanam. So everybody's life is dependent upon somebody's life. If you look at this, लहान लहान किडे मकोडे असे किडे मकोडे खातात, साप खातो, त्यानंतर बेडूक खातो, त्यानंतर बेडकाला कोणतरी खातो, सापाला कोणतरी खातो, त्यानंतर शेळ्या मेंढ्यांना वाघ खातो, like that. So this one is called as what? Jivo jivasya jivanam, and this kind of thing is called as in English food chain. So I hope you guys have understood the concept of food chain. Now if you look at this, you can understand the concept of food chain in a detailed manner, how it has been explained for you guys. Just go through this and try to understand. If you look at the picture, you can clearly understand. See, some radiant energy is coming from the sun, and with the help of radiant energy, grass is growing here. So grass is the primary producer. Remember, grass is the primary producer. Grass will be eaten by mouse. So mouse is going to eat the grass. So here is a link between mouse and the grass. On grass, mouse is dependent. Then mouse will be eaten by the snake. So the food for snake is mouse, and the food for mouse is grass. And snake will be eaten by hawk, that we call it, garud or eagle also. So this is a food chain. So everyone is dependent upon each other, and this kind of chain of food is called as what? Food chain. If you look at this, if you look at this picture or this slide carefully, you may understand what I meant to say. And this is called as what? Food chain. Similarly, you can see the concept of herbivore, carnivore in a detailed manner here. Just look at this, how it is taken place. You know, primary producers I have taken here, primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers, and quaternary consumers. That also I have taken. We have taken here. Look at this carefully and go through that. And from that, you can understand the concept of food chain in a detailed manner, if I'm not wrong. So this one is a concept of what? This one is a concept of food chain that I wanted to tell you. Then food web. We are going to understand the concept of food web. Before going to tell you the concept of food web, I would like to ask you the concept of food web. What do you know about food web? Food web बद्दल काय माहिती आहे का तुम्हाला? If you want to understand the concept of food web, what is food web? Do you know anything else about this food web? Where are you? Are you there in the lecture or not? You all are there in the lecture or not? Hello? Hello? You all are
Yes,
there.
sir.
So if you are there in the lecture, then why don't you answer? Why don't you respond? At least respond yes or no. Forget about answers. I do not expect right answers because this is not your core subject to answer. You guys have studied all those things in 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th standard, or 9th, 10th also. And now you are in SY become 4 years are already gone. And I know that you guys are forgetting something that you guys have studied in your schooling. So leave it and try to answer. So I'm going to tell you something about this food web. What is this food web that I'm going to tell you? Just listen. In nature, simple food chain occurs rarely. So there is whatever they have said in the first line, that is very important. Look what they have said. In nature, simple food chains occur rarely. So there is no simple food chain as such, and rarely it occurs. So every time there is no simple food chain. Food chain is very critical. It is very occasional. So it is not rarely. It is not going to happen rarely. The same organism may operate in the ecosystem at more than one trophic level. So it happens at more than one trophic level. Trophic levels, as we guys have seen. That is, it may derive its food from one source, or more than one source. So the food that they get in trophic level, then they try to get from different sources, and not from one sources, from more than one sources. Even the same organism may be eaten by several organisms of a higher trophic level, or an organism may feed upon several different organisms of a lower of a lower trophic level. So see, it is not that much mandatory, or it is not that is assumed that one food will be eaten by only one trophic level or only one organism. It may be eaten by different or several organisms as per their requirement, as per their use. Usually the kind of food changes with the age of the organism and the food availability. So this is what they have said. According to the age of the organism, the food kind will change, and according to the availability of foods, they also change the eating of their food. Thus, in a given ecosystem, various food chains are linked together and interested each other to form a complex network called food web. So food web is nothing but what? I think we guys are aware with the concept of web. What do you mean by web? Can anyone tell me about the concept of web? Web. Whenever we write www, World Wide Web. So last is web, right? So what do you mean by web? What do you mean by web? Hello? So this last paragraph that I have made it, in a red color, that is very much important. And from that we can understand the concept of food web. So thus in a given ecosystem, various food chains are linked together and interested each other to form a complex network called food web. Web is nothing but what? A network. Network of what? Information. A complex network of information is called as web that we use in internet, or internet is also web. So see, when we go for this kind of things, when several or various food chains are linked together, when various food chains are linked together and interested each other to form a complex network in an ecosystem, it becomes food web. See, I think when we visit internet, why it is called as web? Because we get huge amount of network, we get huge amount of information at one place, and this is what it is called as what? Web. So similarly, various food chains are available and they are linked together in this particular concept of food web. So in this food web, various food chains are linked and they are interested each other to form a complex network. So that will be the complex network of food chain, and this is what it is called as what? Food web. I hope you guys have understood. Food web is nothing but what? A chain of various food chains, or a link of various food chains which are linked together. So from this you can also understand the concept of food web. Autotrophous and heterotrophous both are linked, and this way they have taken together, and from that we can understand the concept of food web in a detailed manner. Look at this, how the complex network of food web or food chains are created here. If you look at the picture, you can see the complexity of this food chain. They are totally, all the food chains are taken here. Hello? Hello? Who is talking? Who is talking in between? Kone? Okay, so if you look at this, you can understand what sort of, food chains are taken together. Kone re? Trupti Shinde? Trupti Shinde? Tanuja Shinde? Tanuja, बोलू नको मध्ये मध्ये. So here we can see the complex food chain, complex network of food chain, and this one is called as food web. If you look at the picture, if you try to understand the picture, you can definitely understand there is a complex food chain, and whenever there is a complex food chain, it is called what? The food web. Now the ecological pyramids we are going to understand. In the concept of ecological pyramids, what do you mean by pyramid? Let me know the concept of pyramid from you guys first. I think you guys have heard about this. In Egypt, pyramids are there, right? If I'm not wrong. Have you heard about that? What do you mean by pyramid? What do you mean by pyramid? Pyramid म्हणजे काय सांगा बरं? What do you mean by pyramid? Hello? आवाज येतोय का? Can you hear me? Tanuja, now unmute yourself and answer my question. Tanuja, now it's your turn to answer my question. Tanuja. Now Tanuja is not going to talk. Tanuja can talk in between the lectures, and she tries to create some disturbances during the lectures, right, Tanuja? So we are going to understand the concept of ecological pyramid. As far as this ecological pyramid means what? Certain steps are there, certain steps, certain fundas are used. So we are going to understand the concept of ecological pyramids. If you look at, if you guys have seen the pyramids in pictures, which are there in Egypt, from that also you can understand. So pyramid means what? There is one certain procedure, certain slope that we can see, that we can observe. So here also we are going to understand the concept of ecological pyramid in the successive steps of grazing food chain, photosynthesis, autotroph, herbivorous, heteropus, carnivorous, heterop, decay, bacteria. The number and the mass of the organism in each step is limited by amount of energy available. I think all these words are new for you guys. There is no need to worry. So these are the steps in successive steps. These are the things which are there in successive steps. If you look at the first one, food chain, photosynthesis, autotroph, herbivorous, heterotroph, carnivorous, heterotroph, decay, bacteria. The number and the mass of the organism in each step is limited by the amount of energy available. So according to this, energy will get available, and these steps are also there in the pyramids of ecological pyramid or in the ecological pyramid. Since some energy is lost as heat in each transformation, the steps become progressively smaller near the top. So as I told you, when we transfer the energy from one form to another form, there may be a possibility of destruction of energy, or energy is lost in transferring process. This relationship is sometimes called ecological pyramid, and whenever this kind of relations that we can find out in case of transferring energy from one source to another source, or one person to another person, or one tropical level to another tropical level, it is called as ecological pyramid. The ecological pyramids represents the trophic structure and also trophic functions of the ecosystem. Why this ecological pyramid is there? This ecological pyramid is very much important to represent the trophic structure as well as also trophic functions of the ecosystem. And this is what this ecological pyramid is important one. So there are different types of ecological pyramids that we can see. And as we guys have started our lecture 5 minutes late, so I'm taking up to 11:45. I will leave you at 11:45 sharp. So as far as types of ecological pyramids are concerned, there are 3 different types of ecological pyramids. What are they and which are they, that I'm going to tell you. The first one is pyramid of number. Second one is pyramid of biomass, and third one is pyramid of energy. So these are the 3 different pyramids of ecological pyramids. So first one is number, second one is biomass, third one is energy. And from that you can understand the different types of ecological pyramids. So in next session or in next lecture, we are going to talk about pyramid of number and whatever types of pyramid or ecological pyramids are there in a detailed manner. So I here stop my presentation and I'll get back to the home screen, and there we can understand something. Now I would like to ask you some questions if you have some questions. Otherwise, I would like to stop my recording.